I don't think of Christian leisure as a specific activity that is based upon some theological principle or something along that line. It's not a theologically created game. But if I'm engaging in some type of activity for the purpose of recreation and so forth as an act of faith, then I look at that as Christian leisure.
Leisure for me is freedom from all the consuming duties that encroach into our lives. So when we have leisure, we could be liberated, we could be set free, and we could be open to imagination.
One thing I really like is getting outside of my house or outside of an office where I can see and hear creation. And for me, that is a great definition of Sabbath and leisure or Sabbath and play.
It's a physical rest, but it's also a refocus. And so I think that there's a big difference between, hey, I just have some spare time to do whatever I want, and I can rest from my normal routine and kind of grind of life and refocus on not just Jesus, but just resting in the fact that I am not defined by what I do.
It seems to me as if leisure is part of the chemistry of living. It is not to be regarded as separated from how we live. Leisure should be part of the fabric of our existence.
You know, Sabbath is an interesting concept because we all know the word. And for the average person in our church, if you say, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy, they're thinking about coming to church. That if they are faithful in coming to church, that is keeping the Sabbath. But the word Sabbath really means to cease or to stop.
It's a rest from the striving to produce, a rest from the striving to prove my worth. It's trusting that where I cannot do it all, I trust that He is taking care of the rest.
For me, Sabbath is a time that I can breathe deeply, that I can relax and center on God. It's a combination, not just relaxing, but that I can really think about God, to pay attention to what God might have to say for me.
To me personally, Sabbath means liberation from the demands of the artificiality of the human condition of enslavement. In other words, we enslave ourselves, but Sabbath means to be set free from that enslavement.
Sabbath keeping really did become central in the lives of the people of ancient Israel during the Babylonian exile. And that was a way for them to say, we are different. And again, a way for them to say that the conventional culture in which we live is not going to dictate everything that we do. We're going to be true to who we are as a people. And I think that old saying that they have used so many times, that more than Israel has kept the Sabbath has kept Israel. I think that's all about the resistance, the countercultural aspect to the Sabbath.
For me, Sabbath is definitely a resistance to the productivity syndrome, that I am so driven to produce, that someone will ask me, well, how was your day? Well, it was great. I got this done. Instead of, I found peace today. I had an experience with God. So I really challenge myself to think differently.
From social media to things on television, everything is about showing what you can do. I mean, even the American idea of pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps, it's constantly being able to show what you can produce and showing that your identity and who you are is validated by what you can produce. And so to stop doing whatever it is that you do and say, this is not what gives me worth, this is not what defines who I am, is absolutely counterculture. It's very different.
When you really come down to it, Sabbath is all about faith. Do I trust God enough that I could stop all the things that I feel like I'm responsible for, all the things that I have to do?
Sabbath reminds us that we belong to God, and therefore Sabbath rekindles our energy and our hope that we do not belong to this world.
For me, especially with my kids, play is really enjoying being present in the moment without really any kind of goal or anything that I have to accomplish. There's no box to check in that moment.
Play, for me, is to become a child again and again. We see the joy of children when they play at school and when they play in their backyard. Play is a lot of fun, and it is basic demand that shapes our brain and opens our hidden imagination and talents.
I was reading something the other day that talked about play, and it actually traced the lineage of that word, and it talked about how it is related to the word pledge, and also the word risk. That play is all about taking a risk. So the risk, of course, is whether we win or lose, and it's you can't win the game if you're not willing to take the risk to play the game. But I look at from play in the sense of looking at it in light of the Sabbath. Again, is do I trust God enough that I can stop all of that important stuff that I'm doing, all of the stuff that I might gain some of my identity from? Can I stop all of that simply to engage in something for fun?
Our bank accounts do not matter when we are playing. Our worries evaporate, and our difficulties do not matter, leaving us in a forgetfulness that is dignifying. So when we play, we forget, and for that forgetfulness is healing.
Play is created into the very order of creation. The birds chasing each other and so forth, singing to one another. It seems to me that in some sense we're created to play.
Play is just one part of who we are, of that holistic piece. I just cannot imagine a God who would not be involved in play. I went on a trip this summer, and it was a Celtic pilgrimage. And what the people there on that Celtic pilgrimage called the spirit was the wild goose. And I know Wild Goose Festival in North Carolina, that's part of it. What is the spirit leading you to do through music and through storytelling and all these activities? That is play. So I really am drawn to the spirit as a wild goose. And to me, that invites me to play.
There was a man who went to see people who are playing soccer on the soccer field. So he got to the soccer field, and then he saw these three players, and then he challenged them. Oh, the second coming of Christ is going to be today. What are you going to do? So the first player said that, I will quickly leave this soccer field and I will go to the nearest church and I will begin to pray, because I want the coming of Jesus Christ to meet me while I'm praying. And then the man said, how about you, the second soccer player? Then the second soccer player said that, well, it might be too late for me to look for a church. I will just kneel down here on the soccer field and begin to pray, so that the second coming of Christ will meet me on the soccer field while I'm praying. Then the man said, asked the third man, how about you? The man said that, I will continue playing soccer. And that to me is an integration of play and leisure, that our faith is not transactional. God is not transactional, that we are going to impress God by leaving the soccer field in leisure time and then looking for a place to pray and to worship God. Play leisure time is consistent with the worship of God.
I think practical ways, because we are so tied to the calendar, maybe it's something as simple as writing it on the calendar. We're going to do this. And say, okay, during this 2-hour block of time, I'm going to take that walk in the middle of the afternoon that I never seem to have time for. And I'm going to listen to the birds. I'm going to watch the squirrels. I'm going to pay attention to the trees and the flowers and the nature around me, the running water, or whatever it is. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to put that in the middle of my schedule.
And can I be open to the wild goose spirit that someone may enter my day unplanned by me? That can be a Sabbath experience. So being open to the Spirit, to feel that Sabbath space, but me being open enough on my schedule to let some things go, to be aware of how God's Spirit may speak to me.
The greatest lesson I've learned, which is a practical lesson about leisure, is that you do something totally out of your routine, totally out of your character, and then you observe that you really enjoy it, you really like it.
Find something that you enjoy, and I would challenge you not to post anything about it. I think so much of what we do now, whether it's a family photo or a good meal, we almost do it for this audience out there where we post it and we try to make it perfect. And I think we need rest from that as well. We need a break to do something that maybe no one else gets to applaud or see or comment on, and we're very present with the people that we're with. And it's something that maybe you would think this is almost silly. Like, this is not going to help me in my career. This is not going to make me a better employee. It's just something simply for the joy of it.
I want to say that one of the greatest lessons I've learned in the Western world as a person from the global South is that when many Americans make a determination that they wanted to do something, they follow through with it, except leisure, which is supposed to be very, very important, because many of us, many people, they have challenges, mental challenges, they have loneliness, and it seems to me as if when you intentionally create leisure time, most of our difficulties that are more of, shall I say, challenges associated with mental acumen or with difficulties that are social in nature will disappear.